Welcome. I'm Janelle, a career mindset coach and actor.
And I'm Amanda Dubois, a self-authenticity and prosperity life coach and actor as well. And we're your co-host of Mindset Artistry YouTube channel,
where we teach you the art of discovering and using your mindset
to build a career and life you desire.
Welcome back to another episode of Mindset Artistry. I am your co-host, Amanda Dubois, empowerment and transformational coach. And today we're going to be diving into the powerful conversation about committing to yourself. In a world of acting and creative pursuits, self-commitment is a crucial foundation for success, emotional health, and creative freedom. But how do we really commit to ourselves when we're constantly challenged by fear and rejection, shame, guilt, and the pressures of the industry and of success? So we're going to dive into that. And I am joined by my co-host, the incredible...
I'm Janelle Glasky. I was like, I have to change that. I'm a career mindset coach and also the co-host of the Mindset Artistry podcast, and happy to be here. Thank you.
Yes. And so today we're going to dive into committing to your creativity, your art, and most importantly, your well-being and yourself. We're going to be exploring 3 essential tools that will help actors and creators reclaim their power, freedom, and the joy of creating without feeling the weight of our past fears and mistakes and other people's expectations or limiting beliefs. So committing to yourself means more than just showing up for the job. It means showing up for your well-being, your values, your creative expression. And even when the world might tell you to quit, don't do that. No. Especially in an industry that is so demanding of us and so unpredictable, it can be hard to stay committed to our goals. And so I want to ask you this: what does commitment mean to you? And how have you seen it impact your creative process? So as we go through this episode, think about that question, and we'll be asking more questions as well. But as we dive into this episode, set an intention. Think about what committing to yourself actually means, what it looks like, what it feels like, and how you can begin to open yourself up to options and availabilities and opportunities for you to commit to who you are. Let's dive in. So I want Janelle, can you share a moment in your life where you committed to yourself, and what was I would say, the consequence, the effect of committing to yourself?
I'd say the biggest one that I always talk about is how I just committed to the 1-year experiment that I was going to show up fully for my career and myself with consistency and daily action and a real plan. And that's why I work full time today. But prior to that, I was afraid to commit to myself in that way, because then if I failed and I couldn't reach my dreams, how painful would that be? So that was blocking me from committing to myself and what I really wanted. The fear of the other side. Would it actually work out? And it did. And I'm so grateful that I committed to me and my dreams.
Amazing. And what does commitment mean to you specifically?
Just following through with your word, saying I'm going to do this and doing it. And then if even you fall off a little bit, just like loving yourself, but being like, no, really, let's take even smaller step and let's just keep showing up and doing what we said we would.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And for me, commitment is like that self-trust. I think what you're saying is like that self-trust, that knowing, in trusting the unknown and the uncertain, that it's going to be okay, because you know that you're doing this for a reason and it's purposeful, not purposeless. And when we commit to ourselves, we're saying, I trust myself to take the risk, to fail, to make mistakes, to grow, and also to evolve. And in our work as creatives, commitment is the fuel that keeps us going when things get rough and tough. And it's also what gives us the space to fully embody the characters that we play and give to our art in a way that is authentic, it's real. It gives a sense of reflection to humanity, which is the gift of being an actor. The gift of being a creative is that we get to create a space where people can feel seen and heard and relate, or maybe just laugh in a space in their life when they're struggling, and they just need companionship or someone to go, oh my gosh, that's so funny, that's so good, and just a little bit of escapism. And so one of the most powerful tools for committing to yourself as a creative is setting clear boundaries, not with just others, but with yourself, your career, your family. Setting boundaries is so important. When we get to know our boundaries, We get to know what are the hard yeses, or what are the happy yeses, what are the hard no's, and it becomes easier for us to communicate to other people, as well as we set a standard for how people interact with us and how people treat us. And at the end of the day, how you treat yourself, how you speak about yourself in private is how you most likely talk about yourself in public, truly. So be aware of that, right? So setting boundaries. Now, we can easily get lost in like the hustle of things and the bustle and like the money and all the expectations of the world. But if we don't establish these boundaries, we risk of losing our connection with our creative selves, with our true selves. And we end up tapping into things like self-sabotaging. We tap into things like anxiety and stress because we feel overwhelmed because we keep saying yes to everybody. You become that yes person. Yes, 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 yes. I'll do this, I'll do this, and I'll do this. But then you've never said yes to yourself because there's not enough space to say yes to yourself. You keep saying yes to other people, and you're not giving yourself permission to either relax, to give your goals and aspirations a good old try, a good old, fashion try. And we do that, we risk losing ourselves. We risk living a life that isn't authentically ourselves. And then we live in the regret, the shame, the guilt of things. So setting boundaries allows us to not only protect our energy, nurture our energy, but also create a space that gives us the permission to be our best selves and give our best selves to our craft, even if it feels uncomfortable. When we set boundaries, we also give ourselves permission to be out of the lines, color out of the lines. It gives ourselves permission to be bold and experiment and grow and evolve. So I want to pass this on to you. I want to set a boundary for myself, and I tell you where it came from is, we tend to have an obligation to family and friends, right? That's usually what we come down to, is like, that's where it starts. This is one of the first relationships we have in our lives as kids, and we learn from our environment. And then it becomes down to that the pressures of like, we have to, again, I've said this before, but be the good daughter, or be the good girlfriend, or the good son, or, the good mother, and all these things. And we start putting so much pressure on ourselves that we lose ourselves in these relationships. We lose sight on our individuality within these dynamics. And for me, growing up in a family that didn't go to college, college right after high school, that had kids at 17, I was the first one to graduate college, not be pregnant at 17. That there was anything wrong with that, but I was the first one to also get into college after high school and go. And it was a great triumphant experience for me. Of course, I never regret it. But if I had gave myself permission at that time to explore what I actually wanted to do creatively, I might have taken a year off and traveled the world. I might have, even though I went to the college, maybe I would have taken a year abroad. But I was so afraid of living out of these boxes at the time that I limited my creativity. I limited my growth. I limited my evolution at the time. And granted, again, I don't regret it, but I know I set myself back a couple of years. And it wasn't until like my late 20s that I decided, I was like, yeah, I'm going to travel and I'm going to do things. And I traveled, but like traveling by myself, that sense of empowerment, that sense of like exploring who I was, what I wanted to do, and not the expectation of my parents, or, their expectations for me. I know they wanted me to live a better life than they did, so I know they pushed me to certain things. But with that, it gave me railings, like some boundaries, not boundaries, but barriers that I couldn't get quite past because I felt uncomfortable if I pursued my dream, because I was basically, they were living vicariously through me. So I felt the pressure and the obligation to, like, I have to graduate college and I have to do this and I have to get my 9 to 5 job and I have to do this. But secretly, and it became known, I was pursuing acting. I was like, I stumbled upon modeling and all these beautiful creative things where it was like, I just can't not do it. It was finding me. They were like, oh, you can do this. I'm like, really? That's cool. Yeah, sure. So what I'm saying by setting that boundary, had I had the courage or even the knowledge or the awareness to communicate to my parents to say, this is kind of what I want to do. This is my path. I want to take a year off and I want to go away to college, or go abroad, or I want to explore that and not feel the pressure, and just say, can I get your support? And sometimes they may not support us, but you can still empower yourself to do it anyway. And there are people out there who are going to support you. If I had set that boundary or communicated my boundary or communicated my aspiration, I would have set a thought in their mind to say that I was capable of doing something, and they would have encouraged me or supported me regardless anyway. But again, set the boundary, get to know who you are, explore the version of you that wants to try something new, and then do it. Communicate it. Don't seek outside validation to confirm that that it's okay to do this, that you should be doing this. Try it anyway. Even if you have to not tell your friends or your family and just secretly do it, fine. Secretly do it and hold on to it. Keep it precious and do it. And then when you're ready, you can share it with the world. You can share it with, the masses. So I want to now I want to ask you, like, weird noises passing by here. What boundaries have helped you set that you've set for yourself that helped you along your path to stay committed to your creative journey and your joy and happiness and peace?
I've been toggling between two more recently, and I've always gone after what I wanted, but most of the time it was kind of like, I have to make it happen. No one's going to help me. And I don't have time to wait. And I sure as hell don't want to ask for help and then wasted the time not getting it. And, everybody has a certain capacity and you do have to respect that. But the boundary that I've set for myself is, I don't always have to be like, I have to do it all myself. And sometimes you do say what you need and other people can't meet you there. And that's a bummer. But then the hard lesson in that, but it's also very freeing, is then you really know who that person is and how they are. And everybody's going to have different capacities at different times, but then there are patterns that show up on people. And so it's not about carrying all the weight yourself and surrounding yourself with people that won't help you. It's about carrying your weight, but then starting to find people that want to help you as much as you want to help them. And that is a scary boundary, because a lot of times our ego will feel safe in something that isn't safe because that's all we know. So it's not healthy for me or safe, really, to be around people that don't want to help me as much as I want to help them, and like, it's not like this victim thing. Obviously, I'm putting myself in that situation, but it takes a lot of courage to set that new boundary. And then the other little one that I have now is, I don't know, I mentioned to someone recently, oh, I'm going to Irish dance at my wedding to surprise my family. And I'm excited about it because that's my heritage. They're like, oh, that's kind of corny. And in the past, and I now have more awareness. So I was like, notice part of me, and who was it? The younger part of myself that was bullied a lot for being an Irish dancer. Because, it's kind of silly and kind of quirky, but also you're bullied a lot whenever you embrace something that's unique and different about you and you boldly go forward with it. But I didn't know that as a child. So I noticed my younger self coming up, and I had to set a boundary of like a hug for her and just be like, that's okay. That person said that was corny. And then I had to say, my new boundary is, what do I think? We're not going to go over and explain why it isn't corny. What do I think? It's not corny. It means everything to me. It brings me the most joy, and it's honoring my family. So those are like the two new boundaries. And that helps you creatively, because then you're just staying in your own lane and surrounding yourself with like people that are aligned with you.
Yes, yes, I'm here for that. I can relate to that. It's learning how to nurture your self-happiness without having the need to tell people, this is what I love. Why don't you understand? Like, say it, not everybody, and I've said it so many times, not everybody's going to understand why you want to do things because they don't have the experience that you do. They may be, dealing with their own trauma and pain and own wounds that they don't have the capacity to comprehend your happiness because it supersedes their own happiness and joy. Or, you know, clearly, like, Irish dancing, that's amazing. I think that's really cool, and I can't do it. But for other people, again, she says corny, but like, it's something that brings me joy and happiness, and I'm good at it, and you're hella good at it. And I can't wait to see it, because y'all gonna see it, because I'm gonna post about it for sure, for sure. So keep tuned in for that, and that is such an important thing, is nurture and forget the need, or at least lessen the need to explain yourself. You don't have to over explain why you're doing something if you know the root of it, if you know the why of it, if you know the purpose of it, and if you know for a fact that this is something that brings me joy. I know I'm going to do it. I'm a freaking great actress. I'm a great singer. I'm a great dancer. I'm a great model. I know greatness is in my path and I'm going to follow it. So be great and don't explain your greatness, because eventually what's going to happen is they're going to see it and they're going to be like, damn. I'm like, damn, I should have, followed through. Like, oh, wow, that was actually really good. There are going to be people out there who get it and don't get it. And so what? They don't have to. They don't really have to. So sit down with what boundaries are necessary for you. What boundaries do you need to create with not only yourself, but with others? It's so important, especially like for me, the things that I've been working on lately is recognizing the fact that I love being an actor. Like I genuinely love being an actor. I love going to see movies and films, and I love talking about it and staying up to date with all the series. And some actors don't. They're creative, but they don't like doing that. They're like, all right, whatever. But for me, I have a passion for it. I love networking with people. I love being out and about. And some people find that icky, or some people find that like, that's so annoying that we have to do that as actors. And I'm like, I love it. Doesn't mean that I don't get tired. Doesn't mean that I don't get burned out. But I generally love it because I get to interact with people. And I have to set boundaries with people who don't love doing that. And that's okay. It's something that I would like to share with people and my friends. And I want them to kind of, join me in this because you're creative and this is going to be fun. And they're like, this is not fun. This is actually full of anxiety, stress. And like, I don't like doing this. And I'm like, oh, right, you don't like doing this. Okay. So I just took back that power and saying that I've always done things by myself, but doing it again by myself, just going out there and like making plans for myself and going to the movies, which I love doing by myself, but like really claiming that and not explaining and just filling up my schedule with things that light me up. And that has been a big boundary that I think I tapped into because I was so resistant because I've been like, oh, I'm going to help you. I'm going to do this. Let's try this. Let's do this. And it's like, wait, Amanda, what do you want to do? Like, what lights you up? And then, sure enough, when I'm back in my art, because work begets work, creativity builds creativity and like lights you up, then I booked something like immediately. Like the minute I committed again to like the things that I love to do and light me up creatively, I booked a project that I get to film next month. Right. And I was like, all right, this is what I need to do for myself. Like, right. And so it's that awareness around your boundaries and what you need to nurture your creativity, your joy, your happiness, your self-love. All of that is important. Don't be afraid to tell people what you need, especially when you know how to give it to yourself. It's okay that they can't do that for you. Don't put the expectation on other people because they may not have the capacity to give you that, and give them the grace to go, that's okay, because you really don't know what other people are going through. Because a lot of people hold in their emotions and they don't know how to articulate it. They were never taught that. Like I was never taught to speak this way to people. It was more of like suck it up and move on, or you cry in the public, you cry in the closet and you move on, right? You come out like, no, I'm good. Little allergies. It's like that's the environment that I grew up in. So for me, this is a beautiful thing that I get to express myself, not only in my art, but in my life. And I don't gives a fucks about it. Like I am who I am and I'm unapologetic about it because I've worked so hard to get here, healing my wounds, setting boundaries. And let me tell you something, it was the darkest places I've ever been in my life, but it's so rewarding after. So don't be afraid of these moments. And so I'm going to breeze through these other tools, but really dive into what are your boundaries? What are your boundaries around like your own trauma and healing? Maybe it's time to just stay still and live in a little bit of the wound so that you can heal from it. It's like picking at a scab, and you have to kind of pick at the scab to take off a little bit of the dry skin to let it breathe and like all the pus to come out, all the things, and then tending to it. Same thing with like your emotional wounds. You got to sit with it sometimes and address the fact that, yeah, I did made this choice, or this person did this, I did this, and let it go. Heal from it. Forgive for your own benefit, not for others. Never seek that out, to forgive other people so they can validate like your emotional journey, because they're never going to understand because they weren't in your shoes. So think about that, right? are the areas that where you're saying yes to things out of guilt or obligation instead of alignment with your, true desires. Think about where those boundaries are. So take that moment to reflect, write it down, write one boundary that you can set this week that will honor your creativity as well as your emotional need. And so the second tool is prioritizing self-care, right? How do you help yourself commit to yourself? Prioritize your self-care. Like I was briefly talking about, is my self-care, and it's different for everybody, is going to movies. That's my self-care. Sitting there grabbing a cup of popcorn, maybe having a glass of wine while I'm in the movie theater, or doing my hair or dyeing my roots, because this ain't my real color, y'all, so it's okay. But that's a form of self-care for me, and it brings me so much joy. It lights me up. To tap into what it is that you need to do to nurture your self-care. That could be going for a walk every day, talking to a tree. Let me tell you how I talk to trees all the time. Do the weird thing. Who cares? Do the weird self-care thing. As long as you're not harming anybody else and is honestly harming yourself, do it. Because you're going to thank yourself later that every day you're going to wake up even more joyful, more excited, something to look forward to rather than negatively thinking about the bills and I didn't book this job. My gosh, I don't know where to start. Find the thing that you can nurture your self-care every day, and it could be a small thing. I know we have a lot of obligations throughout in the world and roles that we play. Really spend the time to make space, even if it's in the bathroom, during the shower, on your way home from work. Make your self-care in that moment. So even if you feel like life is getting away from you, that moment is where self-care lives, and you can nurture it and feed it. And then you can come out of it going, yes. So now, what is the role that self-care has played in your creative process? Because I know you and I have talked about self-care a lot, mental health a lot. So tell me how it's played a role in your creativity and what you do today that you didn't do before, that you're like, I'm glad I'm starting to do that now because it really has shifted my perspective in creativity, about myself, and how I walk and move in the world.
I would say slowing down to speed up. Yeah, that's tough. That's a hard one for me because you and I, we got our hands in a lot of things, and that's who we are. And we're Aries, and it's fire. We gotta go, go, go. And I'm not originally from New York, but I must really be a New Yorker at heart because I love that. Sometimes I'm like, this city is too much, and then I'm just like, I love that I can get so much done in a day. But it has been hard for me to pause. A week and a half ago, I went through my house and I spent time to purge it, and I had to a few times I wanted to put everything down and I want to go do something else. And I made myself just sit there and breathe. And I had to cry for whatever reason. And it's not like I was holding something sentimental, but I was holding something emotional. I don't know why. And so that's now been my self-care. Like, it's okay to take the day to purge the items because your future self will thank you. Or auditions. I gotta book this right now. I gotta get it in on time. I have to get it in before everybody else or right away because I don't know, the casting director, are they gonna see it? Are they gonna watch it if too many days go by or whatever this mentality I used to have? And I'm really grateful that my husband, sounds so funny, my husband is really good at being like, Janelle, you can put it down and pick it up tomorrow. And people like my mom, she's just say I think it's time for you to start a new day where you're just so tired. There's just time to give it a rest, just like a little baby child. Just need to go, put your eyes closed and just cuddle up with some blanket and rest. And it can be so scary to do that if you have a scarcity mindset, or maybe you had to hustle, 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 hustle. But we did the work and it's good that we did that, but now we can relax. It's like being on that hamster wheel. You don't always have to be on it. You can get off, still there. So I would say that's the self-care, just slowing down to speed up. And that's when I booked too. That one film I booked, I was just sick. I had a cough and it was whatever. And the first scene was great. I just couldn't get through the second one. And Andrew was like, lay down. And I was like, I'm going to get it. He's like, you're not. Go to sleep. I was like, well, we have to wake up at 6 a.m. and I have to do it. You're going to get up with me at 6 a.m.? He's like, yes, go to bed. We did. I got up at 6 a.m. I got it in one take, booked the film.
This is what I'm saying here, y'all.
Yes.
This is what I'm saying. It's so important to prioritize yourself and really committing to yourself, because that's one of the ways to commit to yourself is that self-care. And I love that you shared that because I know how difficult that is for you. Like, I really do know how difficult that is. So I'm proud of you for actually working on that and like saying yes to like, all right, rest is necessary. Because it's like, we can't keep going. It's impossible. We just can't. It's not how our bodies are functioning. And just think about like how your body functions in general, like scientifically, however it is, genetically. Our brain needs to rest in order to flush out the toxins of the day. Our souls need to rest. Our legs, after you work out, what do they tell you to do? Stretch, rest, put your legs up. That is just everything in life. Everything is a muscle that you're actively going towards and like moving and working. What comes after that? Rest. So self-care, this is a form of committing to yourself. So not only setting boundaries, but getting to know what you need, really diving into who you are. This is the importance, because when you do, like you said, you legit booked the role. You like, I need a break. And granted, kudos to the husband. All right, Andrew. Yes, yes, right. Knowing that's a good man right there, is knowing that you needed that support to say, Janelle, stop. Because you were going to keep going, you would have burnt out, and you'd been like, and then you would have been unhappy with the material after that. You'd have been like, this is terrible. Oh my gosh, I should have just like went to bed. And so having that community is also important when it comes to committing to yourself, is recognizing the community that you live in, the community that you're surrounding yourself with, people that understand why you're doing what you're doing a little bit. Again, this is like myself and Janelle. And I know some people, we have friends outside of the field, and that's absolutely okay. And honestly, that's necessary, because they can expand your view on life and on worlds and cultures and all these beautiful things. But it also is helpful to have people in the industry that you can go to that can understand the everyday challenges like that. Like, I get it. Like yesterday, I did over the weekend, just like Janelle, like I was like fighting through self-sabotage a little bit, because I was like, I had got this audition and I was like, I'm tired, but I got all these other events. We were doing the lives for the workshop, and I was like, all right, I gotta get this audition, so let me go outside, let me get it printed, let me do this. And I sat down and I was like, okay. And I already practiced it, and I was like, all right, I gotta sit down and commit to this. And it was like, the committing to myself in that moment was setting aside the fear and the self-sabotage of like, I could do it tomorrow. And it's like, but if I did tomorrow in a different way than you did, like it's different. For me, I knew that I would have procrastinated even more. Right. So I set an intention to go, I am going to set my intention to commit to this. After 4 or 5 takes, if I'm not feeling it, I will take a break and I'll go back to it tomorrow, because it wasn't due until Tuesday. But I was like, I'm going to do it because I have a full week for the rest of the week. So like Monday is going to be too jam packed. I'm not going to really have the energy and to have the time. What am I rushing to? To do nothing? To lay in bed, or to grab a couple of, meet a friend? Prioritized myself and my goals. And when I did, guess what? Booked the role. I booked the role within 48 hours. I booked the role, got the call, and I was like, what? Okay, thank you. I'm good at this. Thanks. And you know what? And even looking back at the self tape, I flubbed a line. And I was like, well, we do that in life. That's real. It was a very emotional scene. So that felt very authentic. And I stood in it like it was a part of my character. So again, when you commit to yourself, when you get to know your boundaries, when you get to dive into the importance of that, you also give yourself freedom to make mistakes. You give yourself freedom to take those pauses. You give freedom to be who you are and walk in the world and like, this is who I am, baby. And then people accept you. They see you. You're seen as you see yourself, and it's valued. And when you walk into rooms that don't value you, you have an easier time of walking away. You have an easier time of setting that boundary and going, all right, I know this is the job, but I don't have to give my energy to this person. I don't have to say yes to this. I can say no. And so that's one of the most powerful tools. And then with that, this the last tool that I'll share with you. We had a whole episode about this, is practicing self-compassion. What Janelle and myself did in both those scenarios in very different circumstances is we practice self-compassion. I practice self-compassion, knowing that I know that, Amanda, you do this, you can let go, you can give yourself permission to be here, and then like rest after that. And I did rest after that. You rested in there because you knew you needed the rest, right? That was that form of self-compassion. You knew it was necessary, even though you were resistant towards it, and vice versa, right? Exactly. And it's okay. Life isn't always about knowing all the answers. It's not always about knowing all the things. It's about giving yourself permission to flow through sometimes. Sometimes you just need to flow through life. And this tool about self-compassion and practicing that is especially important for creatives. we're just constantly often like faced with rejection and self-doubt and guilt, and why is she doing this, and why is she getting the role and I'm not getting the role, and why they're doing this and they're getting the role and they're getting auditions, all these things. It's like, stop stop putting the reflection out on other people, and take a pause and look at yourself. Practice a self-compassion. Maybe just something you're not doing. Maybe you just need a rest because you're self-sabotaging these auditions, or you should be nurturing your creativity in a different way than those people. Practice that. Practice self-compassion. You can go back to an episode 2 if you Google it or search it, and the search bar for both Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, you'll see a whole episode about self-compassion. But that is a beautiful way to treat yourself, and treat yourself with kindness, even through the setbacks, even through, the challenges. You got this. You can accomplish anything you put your mind to. Remember that. These challenges sometimes are necessary because we're repeating the same thing because we haven't learned from a past experience. And we can't get to where we want to go without overcoming that challenge, or that mindset, or that emotional attachment, or even people. Sometimes you just got to let go. Listen, we grow up with certain people in our lives, but they don't have the same aspirations as we do. They don't have the same passion as we do. They don't have the same goals as we do. And that's okay too. But if they're lagging, or they're not, like, I don't care. It is what it is. I'm just going to move through life, and that's not the person that you are. Being in that environment, you'll eventually pick up those patterns. You'll pick up those patterns unbeknownst to you, and you'll be wondering why. 6 months go by, a year go by, you're like, what? Wait a minute, why didn't I come follow through with that goal that I set, or that mine, or that following through with talking to, reaching out to a manager or agent, or booking, like following up with the sound guy that I met on that indie project that told me that they were about to work on something in 2 months, and they said that it would be great for, let me connect you, and you didn't follow up because what? You were exhausted, you were fearful, you were tired, all the things. It's like, just take a moment, pause, tap into that awareness, and really practice that self-compassion, getting to know yourself. And so before we wrap this up, now, like, how have you found self-compassion be a game changer for you in your career, and your life?
I had a moment today where I saw a friend of mine. We came up together, and she's on a red carpet for a very huge film. And so then it, of course, came up in me, happy for her genuinely, but also there's still a part of me that wants that. And so something I encourage everybody, and this is a form of self-compassion, is like, well, what are the differences in your stories? So she chose to go hard just for acting. She left modeling, and she made her own films and made her connections that way. And good for her. She went so hard on that route. She had that tunnel vision. So then the next step is shame and guilt come in. You think, I do love modeling, but I did this and this, and oh, I chose this path, or I didn't have the confidence. And then you have to be like, oh, you have a different story and a journey for a reason. The 5-year-old, 6-year-old in me that always wanted to be a full-time, model in New York City, I'm literally living a dream out right now that I never thought would happen. I just saw my friend perform the Frank Sinatra, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. And I was just like, I made it in New York City. And, oh, and that's what I'm always telling people. When jealousy does come up, have compassion for yourself. Don't feel shame over it, and acknowledge it and be happy for that person, because you genuinely can. But get back to your story. No, um, I love this podcast. I love our community. I love Amanda. I love what we're building. I love that we coach people and we want you to live out your dreams. And that's not something that this other person is doing. That is okay. She's very kind, but but I can't imagine not, that's such a big part of who I am, being a teacher and a coach. And the story I want to make about my brother, I didn't have the courage to do that sooner, but the timing wasn't right. So I think that's the biggest self-compassion for creatives, is sometimes it's just the timing thing can really get you. But all you can do is be like, you're doing the best you can. And we joke about, well, it's not really a joke. Time is a construct. quantum leaping and jumping timelines. Like it's all there for you when you're genuinely ready for it. And you can be ready for it at any time. It kind of makes me think of like Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz, and then she just like clicks her heels and like, there's no place like home. And she's always been home. You've always had it. What's yours is yours. That's why I say when you fully show up, it's there for you. No one can take what is meant for you. So this other person, her path, even if I did the exact same thing that she did, I wouldn't get those things. And so that was a long story, but it comes up a lot in creatives. And so I just want to encourage you, please love yourself for the path that you're on and be inspired by who you are. It's good to look around, but love yourself enough and have the compassion that like I'm showing up for Janelle today and who she is and who she's meant to be in this world and her authentic footprint in this thing that, we call life.
Yes, yes, exactly. Like, setbacks, ups and downs is a part of the creative journey. And we have to normalize that and normalize the fact that it's okay that it happens, but never living in it too long to the point that it becomes like we normalize it to the point that we know it can be accomplished or it can be overcome. And you did that. And like what I love that you shared that looking at other people. Unfortunately, it's just a part of this industry because it's a competitive one. There's only one character or one actor that can do that specific role that, unless you're doing twins. And even then now they have people playing twins like sinners, right? So it's just a part of the job, but there's going to be roles out there for you. There's going to be jobs out there for you. And believe in that, keep nurturing your craft. And I know sometimes it can be really hard because we constantly come across rejection and doubt and our pain. Like, why not now? I don't understand. But like Janelle said, and like myself, is you don't know what you need to learn or do in that time frame in between before you get the thing you actually are desiring. Us starting this podcast and becoming life coaches and me doing like social media management, like that's not something that I thought I would even ever be doing. And I'm so grateful that I get to not only do it, but incorporate that with my craft as an actor. And I can bring life into my craft, but I also get to help people along the way. Get to know what it is that can help drive you through life. We have to learn how to recognize the fact that our creativity and our art also is of service. How can you serve the masses? Your story. Go through it, accomplish it, overcome it. I know it's difficult. I know it's hard sometimes. When we show compassion towards ourselves, we stop like attracting and attaching to our worth and our external outcomes, right? Because we know we're meant to do this. And so we end up focusing on the journey and enjoying the journey. Enjoying the journey, as crazy as that sounds, but we get to enjoy it and we get to see that there's magic in this unknown, this challenge. Like, oh, okay, I know this is difficult. I know I'm going through a hard time, but I know that when I accomplish this and when I overcome this, because I'm trusting that this issue is already resolved, it's going to be so much better. I'm going to learn so much about myself. And so it's such a beautiful, beautiful journey. Don't define yourself by rejection. Don't define yourself by timelines. Keep going and be kind to yourself through this creative process. And one of the ways that you can do that is coaching with us. We just did a beautiful live on this month, Money Moves 2025. We did it back in February. We did it again. And it felt so good to share our thoughts, share experiences, but also get the feedback. Like, oh my gosh, I really needed that. That was amazing. This came just in time. We get it. We come through these hurdles in life. So before we go, I want you to share your thoughts on this episode. What came up for you as far as boundaries, especially as an actor? Like, how have you practiced self compassion? How have you related to self compassion? Do you see yourself as compassionate to yourself? How do you view committing to yourself every day? Is that hard? What are your boundaries? Have you been honoring your boundaries? Or do you need to reevaluate what boundaries you are because you've evolved and you've grown or you haven't really addressed certain things in your life? So nurture and feed your creativity through being your authentic self, in front of the camera and behind the camera. And even through the struggles and the setbacks and all the things that come up with this career, this life, this journey. So, as we wrap up today's episode, I want to encourage you all to take those tools and start integrating them into your creative journey. Remember, committing to yourself isn't just about working hard, overworking, as you heard from our stories. It's about showing up for yourself and for your well being, your art, your craft, your joy, and your unique voice, the freedom to create and also to relax and to be an actor that isn't just about feeding or fighting to get the job or fighting. It's about the flow. It's about accepting. It's about being aware and letting yourself unleash to the world your authentic story, your authentic dreams, and your authentic self because you matter. We see you, we hear you, and we value you. And this is where you belong. Now, any last words before we wrap up this episode?
No, we love you guys.
We love Yeah, great. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. And if you haven't, we have our webinar free on our YouTube channel. It's also check us out because we're going to be doing more lives on Instagram. So if you're not following us, we've got Amanda Dubois. Also, my coaching website is she'salifecoach.com. We have all our platforms on there. And Janelle is Janelle Kolaski on Instagram. We're live. We're out there. We're doing it. If you have questions, let us know. Follow and join our newsletter. We're constantly offering free tools, advice, experiences that we go through, and all the beautiful things. And we have a course coming up, Path to Empowerment, 4 weeks of great modules and videos and tools and workshops. And you get one-on-one coaching with the both of us, 2 for 1, 2 for 1. So join us, and we can't wait to see you. Bye for now.
What are your thoughts about this episode?
Drop it in the comments and let us know what you want to dive into next.
Subscribe, like, share, and click the link below to book a free consultation. And
We'll see you next time.